Hey everybody, thanks for joining us. This is Ryan from Breaking Badge. Today, Chad and I have an awesome show coming up for you, and it's just Chad and I having a conversation today. We're going to get a little vulnerable, share some challenges and some experiences that we've had to struggle through, and it's things of focus around fear and doubt, and the conversation eventually leads towards comfort and how that can harm us. I think a lot of times we see the highlight reels on social media and we don't always see the challenges that people have behind the scenes. So we're going to have an open conversation about that. We hope you enjoy the show. This is the Breaking Badge Show.
Right, what's up, buddy? How you doing, man?
What is happening, Chad? I see you sporting the Eagles hat there.
I am, brother. I am wearing this for you. This is in honor of TB12 retiring, and the last team that he beat or he lost to in the Super Bowl was to my Eagles. So we're this just for you.
Yes, we remember that up here very clearly. You know, we could probably do a whole podcast on Tom Brady and his mindset and what he accomplished in his career. I mean, you look at
Crazy.
He was a starter for 20 years and he went to the Super Bowl in 10 of those years.
I did. That's nuts, man. And he says 7 championships, his 7 Super Bowls more than any other team. It's crazy.
It's unbelievable. He led an incredible career, man. And we're blessed to have many of those up here in New England. So
yeah, that's awesome. And he commands respect from it. I mean, at this point, 22 years, everything he's done, I don't know how no matter what team you root for, you can't root for Tom Brady. I mean, guy's unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely. It did feel weird rooting against him last weekend as we were rooting for the Rams up here in the CHARTRAND house, but it was.
That's funny. So what's new with you, man? How's you guys got rock a lot of snow up there, I heard.
Yeah, we get that weird snow up here where you get the nor'easter and the wind. So in some spots looks like there's a couple inches, and then in other spots there's like 3 feet. So you don't really know how much you got. It's all over the place. But we're all dug out and ready to go out to the grocery store and go back, and we'll see the grass in a couple more weeks, hopefully.
Yeah, right. It's crazy. Almost February.
I know. Yeah, it's good. It's going fast, man.
Yes, it is. It is. So what is new with you? I know we have not recorded in almost 2 weeks, 12 days. I know you've been busy. I've been busy, but so what's new with you? What's going on?
Yeah, so I know we were gonna, we had chatted outside of here. I told you a little bit and everything, and we're gonna kind of bring it out on this episode and this recording. And I think we all go through some tough times here and there, whether no matter how big or how small. And we're going to bring out that vulnerability here and everything. And yeah, man, I hit a little rough patch and everything. And one thing, I never want to come on to these podcasts that make it look like that I have everything all together. We have everything all together, have all the answers, and we're just superheroes, because we're not. We deal with the ups and downs and everything. And so we wanted to come on today and talk a little about fear and doubt. And I think that's, I let myself kind of go too far down that slippery slope, a couple, probably about 2 weeks ago, man. And that, fighting through that and working through that, and thought we'd bring it out here on the show.
Wow, man. Yeah. And I appreciate you willing to talk about it. I only knew a little bit about it because we were texting, obviously. And I could tell. I mean, I could tell there were a couple of times I sent you a text, you didn't reply, and then like the next day you get back with a short answer. And from somebody that struggles too from time to time, I know I could just tell. I have this sixth sense when something's bothering you. So I asked you if you're all right. You kind of gave me very little information. I didn't know really, and you didn't really go into too much detail, which I respect. But then you'd say, hey, let's do fear and doubt, and I'll tell kind of talk about what I was going through on the show. So I really don't even know what's going on other than you're struggling a little bit. So dude, tell us what was the stuff you're going through?
Yeah, man, I think we all have those different struggles that we hit. And I think for me, having, one of those is you let the the mindset take over and everything. I mean, for the most part, I have a strong mindset and everything, and that I really look at how I've developed my mindset over the last several years, and that, what I felt and what I went through, a couple, but 2 weeks ago, that would have lasted a lot longer. Whereas I've developed the mindset to really get myself out of it, stop that in its tracks. I think we get to those points, and what happened with me is we're striving to do something new, to do something bigger, something that's not necessarily comfortable. And we hit those times that might not be going as well as we want. We hit that rocky patch, and I allowed myself to start slipping down a rabbit hole where I started questioning if I had made the right decision. I actually, and it happens every once in a while, you kind of think, start asking yourself, would I be better off right now if I hadn't have gone in this direction and I had stayed in law enforcement? And I think as I said, I let myself go down a little farther down that slope than I have before, and really, starting to have some serious questions, have that doubt as to almost looking like, and telling myself, boy, you'd be better off if you had just stayed right now, if you had gotten promoted, if you were doing whatever and you were still there. And I let myself go down that path.
Was there something that an external incident or some incident or conversation or something that got your brain to start going down that road? Like, what do you remember? Can you put your finger on why you started feeling the way? Did you read an article, talk to somebody that you're like, man, these thoughts started to creep in?
I don't think it was anything specific. I think it was a bunch of little things just adding up. And one thing I think our listeners, you and our listeners now probably know that I always look for solutions. Everything. So, I looked for those solutions. I look back, and I think it was just, we're drawn, naturally we're drawn towards comfort, and realizing that, here and trying to go out and do something new, we're pushing out of our comfort zones. We're forced to push that line. And looking back, and it looked easier because it was more comfortable at that point that I was at that time. It was becoming, my disciplines were getting weaker. Were weak. I could tell, I look back, I see that now. Disciplines have weakened up a little bit, and that mind got a little weaker. So that comfort area, that what I knew was comfortable, what I knew seemed more comfortable, and it seemed like a better option at that time.
It's crazy, man. I know that feeling. So I've been there before, and that doubt creeps in, like, did I make the right decision? So how did you slowly pull this out? I know it didn't last a long time, but I mean, was your wife keen to it, or, what did you do to come out of it or start to work out of it?
So I mean, I actually, one thing, it's huge for me, is because I'm the type of person that and this is probably from just the way we are, even in law enforcement, when stuff starts to bother you, you keep it inside, you bottle it up, and you just work through it in your mind and everything. So even a big step for me, even, letting that I was going through a little rough patch and everything, that was a huge step for me. Just letting anyone know, because you got to be vulnerable to let that go and let that out and everything. And yeah, it's great, thinking that I'm here letting it out for all the listeners to hear too. It's a step that you got to take. You got to get past that fear to let it all out. And that recognizing that fear is going to hold you back. That
Bro,
doubt.
I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you, because this is something that we all go through. There's not a human being that hasn't experienced, not one, because that's by creation. We're imperfect creatures, and we're susceptible to these things. But it's funny how we're just not good about talking about it. So I just give you credit for willing to share, even with me personally, and then willing to talk about it on the show, because I have become, naturally, I'm a very open and honest person. So that's never really been a struggle for me. Inside the job, on the job, I struggled because I was fear of losing my job or getting in trouble, or people looking at you a different way. So, you don't say that on the job, but sometimes I forget when you say that. Sometimes I forget how challenging and difficult it can be for people to be that vulnerable. And I forget that because I'm pretty open. And I have to do a better job of realizing how significant that is for you doing that. So thank you, man.
I appreciate that. And like I said, one of my biggest things is, and that's a lot of times, I'll go a while without posting on social media. And it's really because, we tend to we always share our wins out on social media and the excitement, everything that's going good, but we don't necessarily share all the bad. And I mean, I love to post a lot of positivity and motivation. And sometimes I just get that feeling that's like, well, who am I to post that right now if I'm not actually living it, if I'm struggling? So bringing out that vulnerability and sharing with people that, listen, this is, I'm not a superhero, yeah, I share that stuff, but we all have our struggles too and everything. And, the biggest thing that I like to do is really, share that it was there, but what I did to fight through it too. And get over the hump and get going again.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And I think this is a lot of the reasons when humans have conflict is we lost the ability to empathize and show compassion because we forgot that everyone's battling something. Everyone's going through something. We get in this, especially you see it on LinkedIn, this competitive, false macho projection, only the good things, all social media, really. And it's easy to forget that no matter who's writing something, saying something, typing something, emailing something, whatever, everybody has a battle. Everybody has a struggle. And when you realize that and you're mindful to it on a daily basis, you're so much more empathetic and compassionate. The things that used to bother me don't bother me as much anymore because I realize, okay, they're having a really good day. I'm having a bad day, but I know they're going to have a bad day and I'm going to have a good day next. So like, I don't get too high. I'm working on not getting too high or too low. But that just took a lot of time for me. Actually, I want to tell you a story, right? Because I never told this story. And since you're being vulnerable, I thought I'll do it. And this is really recent too. I went to the end of September, early October this past year, 2021. So a few months ago, I went to, and only a few people know about this, my wife, my business partner, and one of the ladies, I'm going to talk about her too. But I was in this conference in Dallas. It was the Veteran Edge conference, big conference every year. I was excited to go. It was the first one I was there. I was invited to participate, and I naturally have low self-esteem. I think everybody has moments, not everybody, but a lot of people have imposter syndrome, which is kind of a weird term, but or you feel like you don't belong. You feel like I'm a fake, I'm a phony. They're going to figure me out. I really shouldn't be here. And because I always struggle with low self-esteem, I'm fighting that a lot more than people realize. And I keep it in. I don't talk about it a lot. I project, that I've learned this mantra, fake it until you make it, because I know it's going to end at some point. I'm going to rebound and I'm going to keep going. So I went to this conference and I'm interacting with all these successful veteran business owners and people that are, making a lot more money than me, have done a lot more, and just naturally having cocktails by the bar, sharing stories. I just, in my head, I mean, looking back on it's clear, like as people are starting to talk, it's not that they're rising, it's that I'm falling. My self-esteem and the imposter syndrome is starting to take over. And I feel it at the bar, having a cocktail with these people. And I feel it. We go to bed that night. I wake up the next morning to go to the conference and I could not get out of bed. I could not leave my hotel room. Dude, it was like a manic episode of anxiety where I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't brush my teeth. I couldn't shower. I couldn't leave the room. I was terrified to go out and interact with anybody because I feel like the gig is up. They know you're a phony and a fraud and you shouldn't actually be here. And so I did not leave my hotel room the entire day, to the point where one of the people at the conference, her name is Kristen. She works for the IVMF and she was amazing. She recognized she didn't see me all day at the conference. So she's texting me, and a couple of times I ignored it. And towards the end of the day, she's like, hello, question mark. And I know, I'm like, this is not me. I always respond to people. And so I responded. I just told her, I said, look, I'm struggling. I'm having a really difficult day. And she's like, you got to come down here. You got to fight through it. You got to get in the shower. Now it's like dinner time. I didn't leave my room all day. It's reception area. There's all these, high earners, well-accomplished people. I want to introduce you, start making relationships, really important part of, relationships, business relationships. And I literally am in the shower, washing my hair, telling myself, you can do this. You can do this. You belong. You get, like, literally saying that. Go down there. I start interacting with somebody, a well-to-do person. He asked me what I do, and I'm telling him what the business is, feeling like the business is nothing. Like I'm saying it and he's nodding his head. He's going, oh, that's really, really interesting. But in my head, I'm like, dude, don't say that. It's not interesting. I know it's not interesting. I'm not interesting. The business isn't interesting. This is the voice in my head. I go to the bar. He talks to somebody else. I go to the bar and I get a drink and I shoot down a drink real quick just to take me out of this mindset. Because I was in like this mini crisis of like just trying to pull myself in so I could socially interact and just be somewhat normal. So I finally came out of it and went around, did some breathing exercises privately, and kind of continued on with the conference. But I missed the whole day. I didn't leave my room the entire day because of this feeling that I didn't belong. And it's not true, because you ask people on the outside who know you, they're like, dude, you absolutely belong. You're not only belong, but you're going to do really well. But sometimes, we don't feel that way, and we battle with ourselves. So I know there's so many people like you, like me out there that are faking it until they make it. And some days are really, really great. Some days are not, but you're not alone, brother.
I appreciate that, man. That was a, great story. And I guess, as I mentioned before, I'm always looking for solutions. So, what do you have anything in mind for what you're going to do the next time you find yourself in a situation like that?
Yeah. So that was kind of I've been battling anxiety for years, since being a kid, and I've always resisted medication. So that was the last big incident that happened. There've been some incidents like that in my life that nobody really knows about. Again, fake it till you make it. But that was the last major incident. I told my wife about it. It's like, Chad, you can't do this every couple of months. You hide out somewhere. So end of December, I started for the first time, and I'll put it out there. I started, and I think I said it in the previous, but I started medication, started an antidepressant, anti-anxiety medication. And I always resisted it for years because, again, I felt like my parents were on it growing up. I'm like, well, I don't want to be on that daily medication. I didn't know much about it, and I was naive, and I was uninformed. And now that it's been a month since I've been on, a little over a month now, it's like, it has done amazing things for me. And I'm not advocating or telling people they should do it. Certainly that's not what our channel is all about, but I'm saying for me, it has made an amazing difference. A lot of reasons I didn't want to go on it because I didn't want to feel numb. And I just thought that would make you numb and suppress you, because I have a natural personality. I like to interact, and I don't want that to change. What I realize now, being on it, and hasn't really probably taken full effect, it's only been a little over a month, is I don't feel any different. The only difference is it takes away the lows of the lows, like that real low part, that manic part where I couldn't leave my hotel room. And that other places where the fear and doubt, I succumbed to fear and doubt. It takes that stuff away, and I haven't had an episode. So I'm hoping this is, what I needed. And I wish I would have started it sooner, but you don't know what you don't know. And now I know.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, I'm a thinker. So, I'll sit and I'll just go over it, and I'll almost like beating a dead horse until it gives you the answer. But, really questioning, and even, I find when I actually start putting pen to paper and writing things out, that the answers start to follow. And really questioning, okay, what is it? Why are you feeling this way? Why am I feeling this way? And when you break it down, you get that specific answer. You realize that, well, it's what I'm, for me anyway, found out, well, you kind of just blowing this out of proportion, or not necessarily blowing it out of proportion, but, it's a simple fix here that's going to fix this, that's going to fix this, and just the whole process comes out. And, I really come back to, when I was working through this, and as I, still working through it, a lot better than I was, still working through it and get to push forward and break through the barrier, to recognizing that, for me, almost like it's a comfort drug, and you gotta step out of that comfort and really do the things that are uncomfortable and that scare the crap out of you, so that you can push through it. And, one thing I thought, I brought it back to, when I was questioning myself, would I be better off if I hadn't left, and if I was still in law enforcement and got promoted and everything? And ultimately I said, comfort will keep you comfortable, but not necessarily happy. The income's comfortable. Doing what is comfortable, but it doesn't make you happy. Fulfillment and growth is what's ultimately going to make you happy. And that fulfillment and growth is going to be by extending that comfort zone and growing beyond what you're comfortable doing right now, reaching that ultimate growth.
Wow. Yeah. You're right. I'm just listening, reflecting on your words, applying it to my life. And you're right, man. I mean, and I think the growth is the important part, because I'm a believer if you can heal from trauma. I believe you can heal from things. I believe the mindset, I agree with you. Mindset is everything. And I was talking to somebody really close to my family because they're going through a bout of really bad mental health and anxiety, depression. And, this conversation led to, well, how you seem like when you struggle, you bounce back a lot quicker. And I said, it's not that I'm gifted at anything. It's just that I value mindset. I value a positive mindset and a growth mindset. I value that. So I know I'm going to have bad days, but my goal is to shrink that as little as possible. Having a positive outlook, having a growth mindset, realizing that this is part of the journey. It's not going to last forever, and building the resiliency to bounce back faster. Like, that's important to me. I hear it in your voice too. So I think it's important, that growth part of that mindset is, it's not that you're not going to ever have bad days again. It's that we understand how this is, how this works, and how we can make this as minimal and less impactful in our lives, as the least impactful as possible.
Yeah. Even going back to when you're having one of those days, or you're going through one of those times, you take a deep breath and just realize ultimately it's going to make you stronger. It's making you better and making you stronger as long as you persevere through it and don't give up.
Yeah. You want to hear another crazy story? This is, I went in the Army at 17 signed up for 8 years. Now, I went in 98 in peacetime. So really, it's only 4 years of active duty, 4 years of they call it IR, inactive ready reserve. Means you get out after 4 years. You're on this 4-year, technically it's 8 years. So your last 4 years, you're on this emergency call up. But this is 98, Bill Clinton's president. Nobody heard Al Qaeda. I'm like, okay, so everybody knows you do 4 years, you get out. Well, right, 9/11 happened when I was on active duty. So I ended up transferring that 4 years of IRR to National Guard time. And then we ended up getting deployed to Iraq. So anyway, I ended up doing 8 years, my whole 8-year enlistment. My last year, I'm in Iraq, and I'm coming up with 25 years old, went into 17, 25, have no high school or no college degree, really didn't do that good in high school, living home with my parents when I'm not deployed. Really the only possession I have is a car, no girlfriend. I had a girlfriend, but she broke up with me in Iraq. But so I'm sitting there in Iraq, and I realize, you know what I'm really freaking good at? Being a combat leader. I'm really good at that. I love taking care of the guys. I love getting everything, as much information as possible, and executing the mission to standard. I love training the guys. I love working out. I love PT. I love being in shape. I love everything about it. I'm really good at this. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to re-enlist for 6 more years on active duty and just make it a career. And I remember, so I did it. We had the battalion commander came down. I still have the picture of the flag hanging, the guys holding the flag behind me, and I re-enlisted and I swore in, and I go home back to my that night, my hut, and call my dad from the payphone, or the little phone lab there. And this is 2005. I tell my dad what happened, and he's always a very reflective guy, and he's quiet, and he's thinking, do you think that was a good decision? And I'm like, well, what am I still going to do, Dad? This is all I know. And he said, well, there's a lot of things out there. There's a lot of opportunities. And I know you're a hard worker, and you place a lot of value on relationships and building good things and having purpose behind. Like, I think you could find something but my whole adult life has been limited to the military. So, and I'm only 24, getting ready to turn 25. So I just didn't know. So I talked to my other squad leader buddy one of my best friends in the platoon. And he had second squad leader. I was third squad leader. So we're peers. And he was like, bro, you could go out, like, of all the people in this platoon, you're one of the ones that's going to go out and crush it in the private sector and do all these things just because the kind of guy you are. Like, not to say there's anything wrong with a career soldier, but I wouldn't have thought you were that guy. So I come into work. So I really couldn't sleep that night. I come into the tactical operations center the next day. We're getting our mission list from the lieutenant. Lieutenant says, hey, Chad, hey, Bruckner, battalion lost your re-enlistment paperwork. It's crazy. And by the way, anybody who was in the military knows you don't lose 6 years of re-enlistment paperwork. Like, that gets into a vault somewhere because, that's retention's a huge deal. And so, and I remember he was nervous, he's like, battalion lost your re-enlistment paperwork. no big deal. Battalion commander's going to come down today and we're going to do this all over again. And I sat there, I'm thinking about my squad leader buddy. I'm thinking about my dad. And I sat there and I said, you know what, Lieutenant, I'm going to take this as a sign and I'm not going to do it. Well, you just did it yesterday. I know. I'm just going to take it as a sign. This is what God, like, obviously you don't lose re-enlistment paperwork. This was, and I was already having some kind of buyer's regret. So maybe this is the sign I need. So you just did it yesterday. I'm going to have him come down. We're going to do it. It's going to be amazing. It's fine. And I didn't do it. I didn't do it. And I think about it because I actually re-enlisted. I swore. I saluted the battalion commander. I signed my paperwork. It was done. It was over. And had that not been lost, which is crazy because they don't lose that. I mean, 99 out of 100 times they don't lose that paperwork.
Wow.
And I guess the only saving grace is we're in combat. We're in a combat zone. So like, you're not like it got filed in a filing cabinet somewhere. That I would have went, as soon as I got back from Iraq, I would have went back on active duty for 6 years. And I would have never met my wife. I would have never became a cop. I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you today, bro. So
wow.
I say about fear and doubt that sometimes you just have to have a little faith that things will work out to your advantage. And sometimes you need to get lucky. Sometimes you need to get lucky. Is it luck? I don't know. But I doubted myself that I could do good in the private sector or anything other than the military, which is crazy. But because I doubted myself so much, I made a decision that would have affected my entire life. And by the grace of God, I don't even think it's luck. I really believe it's divine intervention. God had a bigger plan for me. And God became a cop.
Don't happen to you. They happen for you.
Dude, I love that. I say that. I never heard that. And you say that. And I was telling somebody the other day, things happen for you, not to you, because of you. So thank you for that. But life has a weird way of working out, and we all doubt ourselves. So it's just a matter of staying the course and finding ways to be resilient.
Listen, man, as we wrap it up, you got any final thoughts for the listeners?
No, I feel like I told too many stories. You didn't get to talk a lot.
No, man, those great stories.
No, I think it's important to remember we are all battling similar struggles. We definitely all have a struggle. Could be different. Could be family related, substance abuse related, mental health related, physical health related, career related, friendship related. Everybody has a struggle, maybe multiple. It's that level of understanding to know when you're going through it yourself, you're not alone. Somebody to your left and right is doing something very similar to you. Maybe the battle's different, but their struggle is going to be their struggle. I think that helps me to realize that we all have them. Doesn't make you feel better when you're in the middle of feeling that way, but it really helps me connect and empathize with people a lot better. I used to be very judgmental. I admit that because I didn't realize my insecurities and my imperfections. So it was easy to cast judgment on others until I started to realize several years ago, my frailties, that it really made me understand people a lot better and connect and empathize. So you're not alone. If you're going through it, you're not alone.
If you are going through that, just remember, I always recommend that you break it down to small little chunks, and that's even day by day. Make it another day, fight another day, implement your plan, do what you got to do one more day, and to day at a time.
Yeah,
day at a time, and keep going.
Dude, that is great advice. It's honestly one of the things when I was really depressed in 2019 when I got demoted from detectives. So the height of that issues for me, just self-medicating, alcohol, depression, suicidal ideation. One of the things that held me back was looking at the whole mountain, thinking, how am I going to fix this problem? I'm looking at it like I'm looking at it all emotionally, obviously. And I'm picturing this big giant mountain. I have to get to the top, and it just was insurmountable. I think that advice you said is absolutely amazing, is take it a day at a time, a step at a time. If you try to climb the whole ladder in one leap, it's not going to work. It ain't going to do it. So one rung at a time. And if you focus on that one step at a time, before you know it, you look back and I just walked 10 steps or climbed 10 rungs. So I think that's a great advice you gave.
Awesome, man. Awesome.
Well, bro, thanks for sharing your story, man. Really, honestly. I'm hoping
absolutely. You too, man. You shared a couple of great stories for me, for the listeners and everything. And that was a vulnerable episode for the both of us, sharing some struggles and everything. And, maybe some people out there are going to relate. Maybe it's going to help them work through some of the struggles or challenges that they're having, and maybe keep it to themselves. So,
sure, brother, for sure. All right, man. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, this was fun, man.
See you next time, buddy.